What's happening? My name is Blake Harris, and this is the Music City Mindset. Music City Mindset is located on all platforms everywhere. We are located in the NFM network, and we are very grateful for that. We have an exciting show for you today. Part of the reason why it's good is I'm not alone today. Co-owner of Spontaneous Beauty, he has had works of art featured all over the world, and together we've won College Town Beer Pong Champions using straight SoCo. My best friend of 3 decades, Evan Butler.
Facts.
Yeah.
Facts.
The SoCo Pong days were
pretty
honestly, intense.
After those Pong matches, I felt like we planted a flag. I'm not sure even the towns are named the same anymore. I think we may have renamed them. And
like the NCAA rivalry weekends.
It's 20 years ago, but they may still be salty.
Yep.
I'm not sorry. I'm not sorry.
So, one of the things we're going to talk about a little bit before we get into this episode is things aren't always what they seem. This platform has allowed us to get into some doors that are on the other side of the curtain. And, I kind of understood now very early on that the things we looked at growing up, the chains are fake, the cars are rented, the followers are bought, but in today's society, how social media works, especially in the post-COVID world of what everything that Instagram means to our society, how it's used for sales, marketing, everything, dating, whatever it is, it's very powerful. And even to what I'm dealing with the news, especially in regard to promotions and branding, I'm cool with faking it till you make it. Definitely subscribe to that to get into this seat right now. But my question for today is not everyone makes it. So I think that we see like people faking it for a long time until that becomes their thing. Or they don't make it quick. So where's that fine line between faking it till you make it and it just all being fake now?
Well, I would say this. If you start out as a fake person and then you start faking something else, you just got a whole bunch of fake. And there is a fine line. I'm glad you said that. I think you have to know who you are and know your goals and not be willing to compromise. If you're going to fake it till you make it. I went to school with a guy. He wrote Dr. such and such on every paper. And I thought he was a little crazy at first, but he's a doctor now. And I'm like, that's an example I have in my head of like, fake it till you make it. But he also knew like, I'm going to get there. Nobody's going to tell me any different. Y'all can make fun of me. The teacher can call me out about that's not my name, but he's a doctor now. And,
I think the important word that people leave out, I think a lot of people, I won't say a lot, I've seen people use that phrase, fake it till you make it, as an excuse to lower their standards of authenticity. But they forget the till part. That means if you subscribe to doing that, then that means there's a time which you stop doing things that way. And I don't think enough people start reeling it back when they start making headway. Does that seem to make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
One of the things that kind of sparked that is our guest on the couch today was actually quoted in talking about the beauty of authenticity. And I don't hear enough people saying things like that. Mm-hmm. Is there a counterpart to that? What's the opposite of faking it till you make it? Like being real till it's true, or like
they hate us because they ain't us.
I think it clicked for us at the exact same time.
Well, whatever that is, I'm going to workshop that. I'm going to come up with the opposite that talks about staying real the whole time, no matter what. No matter if haven't made it versus when I do make it, it's going to stay real because authenticity is beautiful. Person who said that quote is here on the couch with us. Very exciting. Longtime friend of mine. First female hired on the on-premise marketing manager role of Brown Forman. One of Nashville's most beautiful people in 2022. Now the director of brand experience with Bourbon Plus. She has an event coming up that we're trying to help with December 12th at the American Songwriter Studio in Germantown. Open bar, live music, rare whiskey tastings, hors d'oeuvres, hand-roll cigars, and more, but we will talk about that later. Welcome to the show, Misty Blu.
Yeah.
Boy, I felt like I needed to walk out with some fog machines or something.
Yeah, sometimes we forget about what all we've done. And when I first knew who you were, I think, top dog at Whiskey Kitchen.
Oh, yeah.
Running shed. Mm-hmm. And I don't think I've ever had the ability to say this to you to your face, and I'm glad we can do it with proof and cameras and whatnot. You were very influential for me. Wow. I was more of a reputation of partying when I knew who you were, but I was wanting to break into fitness, become a fitness professional. But I did enjoy partying and having a good time.
We all do.
But not everyone is open and authentic about that. And you were one of the first, I don't know if you hate the term influencer, but influential people in our city that made it, I want to know how intentional it was to make a balance of your identity with beverage and fitness both being important.
Well, I mean, I love being healthy. I love feeling strong. I love being fast. I love being lean, but I love whiskey and I love socializing with my friends. I love both. And that whole quote, two things could be true at the same time, it's very applicable to work hard, play hard. If you love both things, you just need to find a balance. And for me, fitness has always been my tether. And as I've seen, my experience in this industry, a lot of people lose themselves in either lane, specifically in the social lane. Absolutely. Yeah. They can take it too far, lose a lot of themselves, and live for that vibration. And then in fitness, you can take it too far as well.
Yep.
You can lean too much. You can, starve yourself. You can do it for the likes or do it for the aesthetics and not for the strength that it provides your body. So I think fitness was my tether for the social world, but the social world became my tether for fitness as well. It kept me balanced.
Because I can remember some of those early on Nashville fit events way before Terry owned it or anything. We'd
gotta win.
We'd be was it like taking a shot of Fireball, spinning around with your nose on a bat, doing 10 burpees?
That's right. I may have been a big pusher.
that video of me doing that for you is somewhere. I don't know.
I tried to find it on Instagram the other day, but man, I went down the rabbit hole.
Yeah. But you were the first person that I felt like it wasn't, okay, I'm stepping into this room or stepping into that room. If I saw you at the bar, we could talk fitness. Mm-hmm. If I saw you at the gym, we could talk about whiskey.
Yeah.
And there wasn't really anyone like in that Venn diagram of that overlap that made me feel comfortable about being open. But the reality is everyone, there is so much overlap. Mm-hmm. But being in a leadership role, not as many people are comfortable being authentic about a foot in both worlds, so to speak.
Yeah. Well, I think about it fondly back in Whiskey Kitchen days. That was when I was competing. That was when I was winning. I mean, all the Ragnar races and the Spartan races and the fitness competitions. And it was probably the most driven I ever was physically in that space. But it was also when I was the most productive in my professional career. So I think it might have inspired you, but it had to inspire me. I relied on that intensity and intentionality to sort of make it through and overcome. Because most of us in the service industry, that's where we all started, we did so out of necessity. I needed to pay for my student loans. I needed to get myself through school. I needed to help my family out. A lot of people don't get into hospitality unless there's a greater need and
the money was
a lack
good.
of options.
Yeah,
it was good money.
We were on Broadway in that 08, 09, 10, 11, 12 area.
Oh yeah.
So what actually came first as far as your upbringing, a value of sports and fitness, or did you see consumption? Where did you grow up?
That actually bleeds over. My dad is a Southern Baptist deacon. He is one of 12, very Southern. Eddie Joe is his name, hence the Misty Blu. He's been sober since I was 6.
Okay.
I didn't drink until I turned 21. I thought I was just going to be just like my father. And throughout high school, I found track and karate, martial arts, kickboxing. I was teaching the football players kickboxing, you know, and because I didn't really party like everybody else did, I fell in love with sports and fitness. So that's always been a cornerstone for me. But when I did start drinking, first time I walked up to a bar, a bunch of guy friends, they were excited for me to drink. And they all chose something different for me, like a rum and diet or a cosmopolitan, or this was the era of flavored vodkas. So vanilla vodka. And I just kept, this is repulsive. Why would someone drink, right? And finally the bartender looks me up and down, sizes me up, and he's like, can I guess? And he slides a glass about the size of a Glencairn across the bar. A little bit of rocks, a little bit pink. And I just took it back. It was delicious. He's like, well, that's Jack Daniels with a splash of cranberry juice. Girl, you're a whiskey girl. And I later found out, so my father was a whiskey guy. So I think loving whiskey is probably in my blood. But the being able to control myself and stay regimented was something that I sort of built along the way.
So this is a tougher question than I intended when I first wrote it, talking to a Kende and some of the other beverage experts that I have. There's a passion, there's a bond over alcohol.
Oh, yeah.
A night of drinking together, you feel like, you know, a long lost relative of someone you just met, right? Like there is all of that. It created an entire career path for people. Yeah. But overall, especially now that I hear a little bit more of your upbringing, do you think as a whole, alcohol has done more good or bad for our society?
Well, I mean, if you look at the demographics and you look at the sort of the tragedies that have come from alcohol, there's a lot to be said about the bad it could do. But what we're seeing now post-COVID environment, this younger generation is leaning more into THC and psilocybin, no ABV drinks, and they're also simultaneously struggling with loneliness. And a loneliness pandemic for them, or epidemic, sorry, for them. And so it's like, if you look at the stats, alcohol has always been like a social lubricant. It's been a way for us to sort of drop our guard, release our inhibitions, or maybe even our ego, and get to know somebody. And if what this younger generation is craving the most right now is that connection, then maybe going so far away from alcohol really isn't the answer. If we can treat it responsibly, it can really build relationships, experiences, memorable moments, and that bond that you're really looking for from your comrades, I think, or your cohorts. So
I think that's a great way of looking at that. In this first segment, I also want to continue giving you your flowers. I don't know if you...
Great answer, by the way.
Yeah, that was an incredible answer. Yeah. There was a part in there, I wanted to let it cook and like let that eat for like a clip or something, but like there was a part that's like, release your inhibitions.
Not a singer, but I'm a hummer.
But I went there in my head. You were talking about the money growing up, or from the bartending and things like that. Especially in the time frame that we were downtown, we saw a lot of bartenders, bar backs, service industry, bar people get stuck because there's more money in that. At least there used to be more money in that than any corporate gig anywhere. People were not going back to medical school. People were giving up on their dreams because they found an easier way of making money. And then they get stuck because it's not a sustainable lifestyle. You're one of the first people that I know of, and maybe it's just because I knew who you were, that paved the way for how bartenders think about getting out of the industry now. The way you've navigated getting from behind the bar, but using your knowledge into sales, because sometimes bartenders aren't considered sales. That's all it is.
I think
but like, has anyone, like, I've just heard other people that don't either know that I know you or don't know you personally using you as an example of how to get out from behind the bar, but still using the knowledge and the experience and the time that wasn't wasted behind the bar to navigate a career for your life after that. Has anyone ever said that to you? Do you feel that?
I feel a responsibility, and I'm glad that it's been recognized and noticed by others, but I absolutely feel a responsibility. And I'm glad that you brought that up. It's really easy to prioritize the money and the flow of money, the consistency of that flow over your, I don't know, your security almost, or your liberation in some sense.
Mm-hmm.
And in order for me to be able to leave from behind that bar, I had to save money. I started teaching fitness 13 years ago. I started taking extra classes, personal clients. I found Advocare, which is just an MLM of supplements. I started selling supplements. I got a design degree for what? I'm not doing anything with it, so I started making costumes for Halloween and t-shirts and selling those on Etsy. I did every single thing I could do to keep my momentum going in the path away from the bar. And I allowed the money that I made at the bar to be sort of my backbone. And yes, when I left, I had to take a pay cut, y'all. It was scary. And then there were a few months where I was living on my credit cards just to catch my breath. But I applied myself in the same way at the distributor and then at the supplier. And yeah, to this day, I'm just now making the same amount of money I was when I was at the height of my bartending career. So
How long was that?
That was it. I don't even want to age myself. I am still 22. What are you talking about? But it was quite some time. It was almost a decade, you know, but it was worth it because all the other doors it opened for me personally and for the doors I can open for other people. Every single time I was around somebody else in the industry that I saw something in, like a Kende. I mean, I get goosebumps when I think about that man and how talented he is and how true and honest his heart is. There are a lot of people like that in this industry that normally don't get an opportunity to stretch beyond being out from behind the bar. So I knew that's my gig. Whatever job and career I could have to help all these people step forward and get out in some way. So I took that part really seriously.
Did it feel like you were this trendsetter at the time of doing it?
Heck no. I was just like, how can I help the people that I love? What can I do?
Well, and we came up in an era, I hate to say this, but that wanted to hold you back.
Mm-hmm.
That if you ever broke free, they would remind you that you'll never get this money again.
Mm-hmm.
And not to mention, showing back up as a liquor rep or something, they weren't so happy they didn't have the thumb anymore.
Oh, yeah. I mean, M Street, man. Do you know what though? Let me tell you just a little bit of good karma that came back to me from all the bullshit.
Please do.
So Dan Leverett,
we're past 5 minutes.
Yeah, yeah. But bullshit. So Dan Leverett, may he rest in peace.
R.I.P.
When I was behind the bar, the last year I was behind the bar at Whiskey Kitchen, I said to him, he was standing at the DJ booth, and I was like, one day I'm going to be out from behind this bar and we're going to be equals and you're going to take me for a drink and I'm getting choked up. And he was like, I'd love to see that day. And when I was at Lippman Brothers, the distributor, they wouldn't allow me to access the M Street accounts. They thought I was too close to the relationship there, even though that probably would have been really beneficial for us at the distributor.
Yeah.
And who better to have an inside track? But I didn't pipe up. I just took, I took my route. And when I got to the supplier, when I got to Brown-Forman, I ended up securing our vodka in their well, our gin in their well, our bourbon in their well, and Jack Daniels as their whiskey. 4 different wells for M Street, which, as you can just imagine, extrapolate how many cases that was. And I sat down with Dan that same week to celebrate. And he was like, you probably don't need to hear it from me, but I'm really proud of you. And what he didn't know was that I did need to hear it. And like, yes, he's not the bad guy in that scenario.
Right.
He's the guy that saw my worth then and saw it after.
Yeah.
But he was one of the only ones. And that's why he sticks out in my memory, because every manager, every GM, Chris Hyman himself, they didn't want to see you move from that position. They wanted to profit from that.
They wanted you to think you were easily replaceable.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the turn and burn of the whole industry is that way. Like you can't mess up once because there's someone waiting for that spot behind you.
Oh, yeah.
I remember one time my grandfather passed away and people were calling in going like, hey, let me get his shifts. Let me get them for good. Yeah. Like it was that cutthroat.
Yeah.
You know?
And, yeah. But I mean, so you're back to now making
finally
boss moves.
Similar money, but I'm guessing the job security.
Oh, yeah.
of what you've done goes with the money a little bit better now.
Oh yeah, I don't have to feel like I'm under anybody's thumb, and I get to be as helpful as I can to the industry and as creative as I want to be as a person. So,
do you have bartenders or current bartenders like hitting you up being like, how do I get out?
That's been pretty consistent, yeah. Like for instance, when I was at Brown-Forman, one of my first hires was Jacob Forth, one of Nashville's tenured bartenders. Anything I can do to help, to see the people that are super talented go where they should be going. So, and now with Bourbon Plus, man,
I'm so glad you brought up Jacob.
Yeah.
During COVID, being able to be a fly on the wall while he was studying for that Jack Daniels role, I had no business being there at all. But just being able to watch what went into that, and I think, some of the conversations I had with you during that time, we had talked about a lot of things, peer to peer, but now all of a sudden you jumped up and hearing those conversations and like your wealth of knowledge of the industry at that point, like pouring down to help someone, even though it wasn't me trying to get a job, it didn't really benefit me in any other way other than I got to hang out at the whiskey house and drink some really good whiskey. That was really awesome for me to experience, even if it was just fly on the wall. But
he's extremely talented, and just like I would say about Akinde, his heart is wide open. Who he presents himself to be is who he truly is. And again, authenticity is beautiful, and I find that people like that, specifically talented, but that are truly themselves, they're like a magnet, And I got to see him grow, and those 2 years where it was he was my brand ambassador, and Carson Beanbaugh was our party fun governor, as a good way to put it. The three of us together, man, that's the highlight of my career, I think. Those 2 years.
Yeah, absolutely. But you have a heart helping people. In one of those interviews that I was looking over, getting ready for this, I'd like to read a quote.
Oh, God.
Dedicating myself to honoring the differences in people and using the influence I do have to move the needle forward for human rights and equality is my life's focus. I've been a part of a change that still gives me goosebumps. When you said that was a few years ago.
Yeah.
You were with a different employer than you are now.
Yeah.
Does that quote still weigh the same?
Absolutely.
Maybe even more so.
Yes. When I came to Brown-Forman, the first time I interviewed, DEI was not an initiative for them or even a blip on the radar. I interviewed saying that there are two sectors we weren't really servicing, and one of them was LGBTQIA. At the time, there was no QIA. It was just LGBT.
Yeah.
And I felt like it fell on deaf ears. And then when I was hired, I had the opportunity to prove to them why Pride was a beautiful investment. And by the time I left Brown-Forman, I had raised more money for Tennessee than any other market for Pride. Not Atlanta, Pensacola, LA. Nashville was the highest investment for any Pride activation in the country. And what we got to do within those initiatives, not just during the month of Pride, but then in October, which is coming out month, I got to see the change that I made. And it changed everything. Jack Davis, who runs Nashville Pride, I got to build a personal relationship with him, and some of these incredible drag queens and bar owners and things I could never have done if I didn't have the money of Jack Daniels. And if I didn't have the respect of my peers to trust me to see that money through. And it did, and it changed the industry. And then they stopped investing. And then now the industry is much different. I wish, to your point of leaving the service industry and losing that momentum, I wish that momentum would never have changed with me leaving. But of course, I feel sort of responsible for having left a situation before I could continue to move the needle. So
that's really cool, and that almost kind of like tugged at my heartstrings of you actually being able to express that you got to see the change you made. I feel like a lot of people who make it their life's work to create change and move that needle, it's such a selfless act because you're not guaranteed that you're going to get to see the fruits of your labor, so to speak, and to see the change. And in all different industries in this city, you have done that for what people know about and what people don't know about. You have helped a lot of people. And I hope you get to see every bit of that. We're going to take a quick commercial break. We are here with Misty Blu, and we will be right back. And we are back. We are here with the one, the only Misty Blu. Misty, you, before we talk about really what you're doing now, because it's really exciting.
Yeah.
Talk a little bit about being that first female with what you did with Brown-Forman, what that meant for how you felt about the company. You know, we talked about job security of, you know, the cutthroat of being behind the bar to really like almost kind of cementing your name into the scheme of things in this industry.
Mm-hmm.
What did that feel like?
Well, you know, at first it felt like it was my life's purpose or my mission. Like it was my dream job. I was meant to do it. You know, it just felt like it fit like a glove. But then, you know, you see the cracks in the corporate structure. You see what funding can and can't do, what rules sort of change about what you're trying to accomplish. And so really every time I would get nervous or insecure because of these things that you're noticing, I would just remind myself, I've done every single job on the way to get here. So there's not a single person I'm ever going to meet that I can't understand. So that's what I relied on. Every time I'd go into a bar, I'd think about their P-mix, their build cost, their barware, what they had to dress, how they had to dress behind the bar, or how they interacted with the guests. So I didn't have to sort of commiserate with them, but I understood them before I even tried to help or pitch anything. And so I relied on the knowledge and the experience I had every door I walked into. And if I didn't know the answer, or I didn't feel comfortable or confident in my corporation having my back, I'd find another way to add value. And I just sort of rinse and repeat that until I had more access, more knowledge, more understanding of the corporate structure and the branding as a whole. And then I was unstoppable, I felt like, because I knew how to leverage the gift of a corporate job to get shit done, really.
You skimmed over something that has actually been a really centerpiece conversation that we've been having behind closed doors about adding value. So this is just me asking because I need to learn. When you say add value, adding value to yourself of what you have to offer, adding value to a company, how did you find ways of adding value?
Okay. Well, my therapist would say, I do want to asterisk this, that a lot of the times as overachievers must add value to feel like we are valued. And I am wonderful just as I am. Let me send this to her.
Yes.
And I don't need to add value to be loved or respected in that way. But no, when I add value for other people, it does build a sense of self-worth for myself, because it's the ability to see what somebody needs and the creativity to find a way to get it done for them, or to collaborate with them so that they can get it done for themselves. And when you walk through all these experiences, looking at it that way, you assign positive intent to the person you're interacting with, which means you're optimistic, yes, but you're not seeing the world as like the bad guy. And if you can see the world as kind of the good guy, I mean, I feel like that regulates my mood. It helps me be more helpful, more creative. I mean, in general.
That helps.
That helps a lot. I mean, I think the positivity and perspective. I feel like sometimes we need something to happen to change our perspective versus being able to have that power within ourselves to change our own perspective.
Well, you can control it just by, again, can I add value? Do I understand this person? What is it that they need? That's already believing in the goodness of them right there. And that just opens a lot of doors.
Wow. So you are now with Bourbon Plus.
Yeah.
Tell us more about the company as a whole and what it took to essentially pry you away from your dream job.
Yeah, I thought I did have an existential crisis after accepting this job. I was like, what have I done? But I'm on the other side of that now. But so Bourbon Plus is owned by a media group that purchased American Songwriter magazine about 6 years ago. And both magazines had something in common before they were acquired, which is that there was a lot of ads and not a lot of content in those magazines. And like most magazines that are print magazines, they were dying on the vine. About 6 years ago, the company that I work for now purchased American Songwriter and turned it into what it should have been for the last decade, which was just experiential, influential, historical, relevant. It became relevant again. So they acquired Bourbon Plus about a year and a half ago to do the same thing. So we're at the very beginning stages of turning it into what became of American Songwriter. The media company also owns Vice magazine.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. There are some other really cool ones like Wide Open Country, Drummer World, Noisy. There are all kinds of really great media outlets there. So
Vice is awesome.
Oh, yeah. So I'm in good company. And the owner is actually, he was a client of mine at Shed. And he and I used to just have jam sessions during my 5 a.m. classes about what he was getting into. And when he got into American Songwriter, I parlayed that move by investing in some ad dollars with Jack Daniels. And I helped them run some events and get some ad work done. So he saw who I was through that experience. And the sneaky guy that he is, he called me up about this time last year. And he said, hey, I've got an opportunity with one of our properties. If you know somebody like you and you'd like to get together and talk about it. And I was like, sure. I want to help some friends. I probably have about 4 or 5 I would suggest. And then he tells me all about the position and then adds that it's for Bourbon Plus magazine. And I was like, holy but Jesus. He's like, actually, would you be interested in the job? It took me 3 months to agree to take the job, to let go of Brown Foreman. But in essence, I get to be as creative as I want to be and live in every lane and not just one. And I've already been able to help some of our bartender friends by hosting this like curated workshop that we filmed with fans and friends and music right there at the studio. And they are all in print magazine now. And then the YouTube channel, we're helping some of my mixologist friends become a little bit more well-known. And
wow.
Yeah, it'll just keep growing.
This might not have been something you set out as your dream job, but it feels perfect for...
It sounds amazing.
Yeah, what you're doing and what you're passionate about, what makes you happy.
Oh, yeah. We're doing blind tasting panels with JB.
Yeah.
We're doing distillery tours with Jeff Arnett himself. He closed the doors for us. We're doing the coolest stuff. And it's truly these relationships that I've sort of been building for the last 15 years.
Yeah.
And now I get to see it all grow into something more artistic and meaningful. So
that's always crazy when some things like that happen. It's like, even with like opening the gym, it was the work I put in said, okay, I'm going to open a gym, and making it happen was honestly, it was like a few months of getting things ready. But then when I work into like why it's successful, it's because I've been doing this and preparing for this for over a decade. Yeah. And it's really beautiful when those things come together. So let's talk about the event coming up.
Yeah.
All right. So one of my favorite friends in the industry is Seth Weinberg.
Yeah, shout out.
When I was going through a divorce and I couldn't even walk my dog, I was so busy and I had no one to help. He moved in as my roommate for 6 months.
What?
And let me tell you what, all he said was, it's just me and my bottles. That's all he said. Well, I come home from a work event and there are bottles in boxes lined from floor to ceiling all the way through my house. And he's like got earbuds in, dusting a bottle of like 1920 Fernet. And I was like, what is going on in my house? But regardless, he's
awesome.
Yeah.
That sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Best roommate ever.
You've got to have him on the podcast. He's really interesting. But he's
Come on
opened.
down.
Come on, Seth.
He's opened his own venue. It's a retail shop, but it's more bespoke. So in order for you to go in, you have to have an appointment. And he has all this vintage paraphernalia, from apparel to posters to print to records to decanters to, you can't even scratch the surface.
Wow.
And then he has this massive collection of spirits. And it's not just like vintage and dusty bottles. I mean, it's even rare and collectible to this standard from the last decade. And then, of course, he's got access to the secondary and some other really cool stuff. So what we're doing is we're bringing the vault to the American Songwriter Studios. So a guest can expect to taste rare and collectible samples, which we won't even know what he's going to pour until he pours it. He's keeping it that secret.
Wow.
We do
I
have
was definitely going to ask you that off camera.
No. Yeah. And so I've seen his collection, so I know it's going to be phenomenal. But then 3 different whiskey suppliers: Stranahan's Colorado Whiskey, Standard Proof right here in Nashville, and Leaper's Fork. They actually donated a bunch of product, and we have craft mixologists making these badass cocktails. So it's open bar for elevated bourbon cocktails, plus the samples. So where in Nashville can you get that much booze?
This sounds like the most amazing event I've ever heard of.
Yeah. And then VIP tickets get a hand-rolled cigar experience, and there's a bonfire outside you can smoke at, and it's pretty cool. And then the best part for me, aside from the whiskey, is a good friend of mine, Jenny Teeter. She's an artist, burgeoning artist, but she is a whiskey lover, connoisseur, collector, and she sings about it like an angel. And she'll be there performing. And then we've got some more cool things like Charlotte Miller. I actually get to write with the magazine as well. I've been writing some editorials, and one of the ones I wrote was about Charlotte Miller. She's a whiskey maven here in Tennessee. Mm-hmm. She's incredible, but she's going to cook all the food for the day.
Wow.
So it's really curated and special.
How often do y'all do these events?
So this type of event would be once a year.
Okay.
But then our mixology workshops, we would probably have about twice a year, and our distillery visits would be about twice a year. So
one of the things that I would like to ask is in the just state of whiskey as a whole. Mm-hmm. It doesn't seem like it was that long ago that it was like fun, even at my novice level of things, to go whiskey hunting and find these. I found a handle of Green Label Weller for like $19 in middle of nowhere, Arkansas.
Yeah. I probably know which spot you went to.
I want to say it was actually outside of past Fort Smith on the way to Mountain Home.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have to text a friend and be like, is this the one we went to?
This was years ago, but now it seems like with the way allocations are working and stuff, that it almost, at least at my level, kind of took some of the fun out of the way they're doing that. Is that an obstacle that you're facing with getting bourbon exciting to people again?
I think that the reason that bourbon is not as exciting isn't because of the change in allocation. People have been waiting to have access to these things forever, and they're going to collect them just as ardently as they did before. I think it's that, there was a 220-something% increase of new distilleries that popped up from COVID and after, and you can't get around it. If you're a new distillery, you're going to have to source your juice. Mm-hmm. So a lot of these guys that are handcrafted small operation are sourcing all the same whiskey, all from the same place. So there's not a lot of variety in the craft world anymore. Mm-hmm. It's almost saturating the whiskey world. And now, in a few years, after they've had time to age their own spirit on their own site and have their own barrels, they'll have a finished product. But until then, we're just going to experience what feels like a little bit of a lull. And in that time, some of those smaller guys that have popped up, they might die off. Hopefully, the big bad whiskey industry wraps their arms around them and helps them succeed and get there, because the more variety we have, the more interest that we have from drinkers. But variety isn't variety if it's all coming from LDI. So
right.
that's the problem.
That's a really good point. That was a great answer, because honestly, my next question was really more about sustainability for some of these younger, like getting into the bourbon industry on that side of things seems like probably one of the most unique, hardest things to get in. Because, I mean, you got, like, people don't realize if you want to be able to sell a 20-year whiskey, you got to wait 20 years. So the front end versus when you can make money is completely different. And then I think it does start a little bit of a sift through, and only the big names can really like sustain this kind of thing. But you're saying there's a lull. Does that mean there is going to be, the way the market works, a cycle coming through?
Yeah, the pendulum will swing back. I mean, you're seeing like some legacy brands like Wild Turkey go back to age statements. We haven't seen age statements since the 90s. So that's a good sign. That's these big dogs, rather than stamping out the little guys, they're focusing on their own craft, their own label, and how to maximize the importance and the specialness of their own brand. That's a good sign. But yes, some of these we'll see die out on the way. Unfortunately.
That is unfortunate. How much of that goes into the brands that you partner with on these trips, these events, with who's making the cocktails? How much goes into that, or is that business?
Well, I mean, I only started with Bourbon Plus in January, so I can only control what happens from now on out. But what I do is I intentionally look at the brand. For instance, mother-daughter distillery, family-owned, or a new rye strand, or a proprietary yeast strand, something that really sets this brand apart from its, competitors. That's, I think, what the whiskey world wants to read and hear about. So that's probably what you're going to see me cover, or how you'll see me collaborate, is those brands that do have something that sets them apart.
I mean, and I think like that makes sense, especially with hearing how much you've done to help people all across your journey. Now that you're continuing to climb yourself, thinking about who you're promoting, who you're bringing up, that's still staying important. Going back to authenticity.
Oh yeah, and I have to say though, I mean, along the way, I had help. I mean, my mentors, they were nerds about whiskey, and they saw that I was. So imagine being a woman talking about whiskey 15 years ago. How many times I got mansplained to about mash bills where the person was wrong, and I just had to have a little grace and patience. Someone had to believe in me and listen to me, like you're listening to me now, So I'm grateful for that opportunity. And that's why I love the Whiskey House, is I've never gone in there. I've been the only woman in that building. I can't tell you how many times.
There's people scared of you in there.
But I've never been in there where someone won't listen to my opinion about a whiskey.
Wow.
And I treasure that, so, because I love it.
To me, it's like music. It goes hand in hand. You're looking for somebody doing something different. If you're hearing nonstop the same thing, you want to hear something different. And it's the same with the bourbon industry.
Oh, yeah.
I love that. 3
reasons people drink. You get drunk. Well, it tastes good. And there's a story. And the story matters. It didn't used to matter. You could kind of pontificate and make it up, but now it really matters. That's what's going to set people apart.
And when you say the story, you mean like the story of the whiskey?
Or the people?
The people, the process, the place, the grain. There's always a story.
The water. I felt like with the bourbon boom, it was prohibition without the prohibition.
There you
go. I know guys that, making small barrel batches in their basement, but.
Not bathtub gin. We're not going back.
No, but.
Not again.
They're not selling it. They're sitting on it like a savings bond, but, it's beautiful.
Going back to December 12th, where can our listeners get tickets and find out more about this event?
Well, we have them on a couple of different sites, like Eventbrite and Partyful, and those are really for the guys that don't really know about the whiskey industry that kind of happen upon the event. But as bourbon lovers, like I hope the listeners are, just get on the site. On our Shopify, we can extend a forever family discount. It's just Bourbon Family, all one word, and that applies for a discount on all of our merch and the tickets for the event. So you can go Christmas shopping, There is the GA ticket, gets you the 2 samples of those rare or collectible whiskeys, but the VIP gives you a lot more than that and the cigar experience. So I highly suggest VIP.
Yeah.
VIP, put in the discount code Bourbon Family to get your discount for this event. It's going to be a lot of fun. What do we have here?
So I brought you guys a special bottle.
All right.
Even though I'm not a Brown Foreman anymore, I bleed Jack Daniels. It's still Jack Daniels Single Barrel Rye Proof is still my favorite whiskey. So what I brought you though was a bottle of 12-year. This was one of the last allocated bottles I got when I was on the team, and I gave myself the goal of getting this job at Bourbon Plus and paying off my debt. And I only opened the bottle when both things were accomplished. So you're about to drink a really special bottle, not just because
I feel special.
Yeah, not just because the juice is good, but it's meaningful. So, and I pour you a little bit more than an ounce. A little bit more than
Nobody's counting tonight, so
there you go.
Thank you so much.
I've done all my hard work for the day already.
All right, well,
cheers. Cheers.
And congratulations.
Yeah.
Thank you. And thanks for having me, like
to
I
Misty
said.
Blu.
Thank you. It's like a bonfire.
That is delicious.
Yeah.
It's like chicory burning on a bonfire.
That is
so well
good.
described.
That's why she's a pro.
Oh my God.
I was excited to take that because I understand the words that you're saying of why this is such a incredible drink. I'm one that the sour mash smell of traditional number 7 almost makes me gag. Now that's my own personal doing of overconsumption at one particular time.
Taking ownership.
But it doesn't change the fact that like I can't, as much as I want to rep out a Tennessee whiskey and one of the ones that's the biggest all over the world, I can't do Jack.
Yeah.
But
this is different.
This is different. This is so good.
See, this is what Jack could be with big shoulders, a smaller ego, and a little bit more time and patience, I think. But of course, it's allocated because they can only produce or save that many barrels for those projects. So, every drop of Jack Daniels comes out of Tennessee, so they can only spare so much for something special like this.
It's such an interesting industry when you learn more about how it works.
I mean, some of those memories that I have walking through barrel houses or seeing the ricks burning or smelling the fermentation, tasting it, like there's never going to be a time in my life that I don't find the whiskey industry so special. It's just really cool. And
there's always going to be changes in everything, some that we like, some that we don't like. Everything that's happened with Belle Meade Bourbon.
Yeah.
I was a big fan of Belle Meade Bourbon. And then things change. But I feel like that's what, again, keeps it interesting. Everything has a story. You've had an incredible story up until this point, which is part of why you're here. But now that you've been able to dream bigger than your dream job, which was your job before this job, it's so amazing.
Dream job's dream job.
Yeah, that's right. I squared it.
When you dream job squared. When you think ahead about when you're going to be looking back, what do you want your story to be?
I want to continue writing and facilitating these stories that are so special in the whiskey world. I want to facilitate the small guy getting the opportunity to become something more. And I want to look back at my life and say, I got to help this become what it is. I got to help be a part of what that was. And then eventually I want to get this magazine so profitable that some millionaire comes around and buys it. And then I get to start another whiskey project that's really focused on women and the minority group in the industry. The underserved, I think, or the stories that are undertold. So women have incredible palates. I just don't know why there aren't more women leading the industry. So
I think we're headed there.
I mean, we could talk about why, but I think we get it. But
well, yeah, that was more rhetorical. Yeah,
exactly.
But we feel the same way, you know.
Yeah, I got to have a conversation with Nicole Alston about a month ago. And I mean, it was just like in awe of, and that's someone who didn't even set out to do whiskey. Yeah. It's so, I agree with you. And I think that is a way of really building true fans. And as long as you're keeping that close to your heart as to where you're going, you'll have a bunch of people rooting for you the whole way up.
Well, thanks. I mean, like I said, I treasure today being able to talk about what I love and where I came from and hanging out with people that understand it and get it. And your heart, I like to say this. You can tell those in the service industry that have the servant's heart. When they walk into a room, what can they do to help? And so you have that. So cheers.
Cheers to that. It's, yeah, it is interesting. And education about things is such a valuable part of it. And I think, you don't know what you don't know, but we're unfortunately in a part of society where you assume the ignorance about the things you don't know. And then all of a sudden you learn, you're like, oh, I didn't know it was like that. And it's like, again, talking about like assuming positivity as opposed to assuming the negativity.
Oh, yeah. I would tell anybody who wants to be on the other side of the bar, I would just say, take every opportunity to learn. Every single rep that comes into the building, taste their product, learn about it, Google it, go down the rabbit hole, go to every distillery, figure out what part of the industry you actually love that actually turns you on. The more you know what direction to go. Don't like waste any opportunity.
What I love about how the bourbon, specifically bourbon industry, at least my exposure to it and my relationship with the Akindes and Chris Mallins and
oh God, love him.
Well, I've got a sticker that says I heart Mallin. Is the education piece that comes with bourbon, the stories, if you will. And one of the things that I hate that I'm even admitting this publicly, but one of the things that I was taught at Mid-10 Nutrition.
Okay. I remember those days.
Is that when it comes to something like that people didn't know everything about. Instead of being car salesy about what you're doing, educate the consumer and allow the consumer to make an educated decision. And I feel like that's how a lot of bourbon works, is educating people on how to explore their palate to figure out what they like and what they don't like.
Oh, yeah.
And then I think that's on a micro level. And then when you really zoom out and apply that to other aspects, I think we have a lot we can learn.
There was, what was a quote? Selling barrels. That was the last thing I did with Brown-Forman was I sold 367 barrels in the last year. So imagine how, never been done in the history. Not even one of these.
Yeah.
Not even one of these. But I digress.
We expected more from Misty.
Yeah.
I was like, good Lord.
Could have rounded up to 400.
367 barrels isn't going to impress you, right? No, but one thing I learned sitting in all those barrel tastings and all those selections is what you can lead a person to whiskey, but you can't make them think, was the quote. Because a lot of people don't pick barrels or menus or whiskeys or things based upon the collective. This is what I like, So you can lead a man to whiskey, but you can't make him think. And that was like, oh.
That brings up such a crazy point of like being able to know, to try to create a product that obviously someone was like, ooh, I like this. Let's do this to create this 12-year.
Yeah.
But like being able to have not just a palate for yourself, but to understand what the masses would consume.
What's going to be special and memorable for so many people? not just what do I jam out to. Yeah.
You know, there's hardly been anybody that sat on this couch. And when we started this journey, I didn't know this is how this was going to go. But there's hardly been anybody to sit on this couch that hasn't changed my way of thinking and my mindset, not to be corny, but in some way or another. And earlier when you said, not only you jumping from behind the bar to the industry, but seeing that in other people. You talked about Akinde, and all the people you mentioned are special people to us. And I think that's the most beautiful testament to your character. Because, and I say that because it's very easy in business to have somebody that does a great job and want to keep them for ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
But to be able to notice somebody and go, hey, you need to be on the next level, or what are you doing here? Because you have what it takes. This is not the easiest thing to do. Sometimes it's the hard decision.
I can't tell you how many times I've prepped somebody for an interview for a job with Brown Forman I thought they would get, and they wouldn't, and they didn't get it. And it would break my heart every time to not be able to, you know, but they're all thriving. Look at them all. I mean, can you see what's happened in our industry? Those people, those air quotes rock stars, what they've created for themselves in the industry.
Well, and I think the servant's heart of what you're talking about, I think Bourbon is a great example of that quote. I have it saved on my phone that when you look at an apple tree, the tree doesn't eat the apples. The fruit of what you do is for everyone else.
It's deep.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't take credit for that, but it's very true. What we do, your talents, your gifts, your fruit, what you've been able to accomplish, it's obviously helped you in the position that you have now at the job you have now. But what you've done has helped so many people. It's not even for you. And I hope you get to see everything that you've created. I kind of look at friendships like bourbons.
Okay.
Like,
don't consume them.
Well, but at the same time, like the best ones are the ones that are the oldest. I mean, at this point, I've probably known you over 12 years, and this is a 12-year. And I hope we can apply what we learned with bourbon of cherishing and savoring something like that the way we treat each other and the relationships that we build together.
I did want to mention at the very beginning of this podcast, you said fake it till you make it, right? And I see that. And I loved the story that you put out there. Sign your name as doctor before you are. But I will tell you this. I'm the same me to you, to my parents, to a priest, to a homeless person who just needs a hot meal. I'm the same me to everybody. You're never going to see a version of me that's going to be a surprise to you. And so I feel like for me, I didn't have to fake it till I made it. I was who I was regardless of where that would lead me, and like accept it or don't accept it. Luckily, who I am is somebody who's appeasing and pleasing, but I just like rode. This is who she is.
Is that really how you always been? Like, how do you have the strength? Because I feel like people are too afraid to put their truest self forward, even within their relationships, their friendships, who they are at work. People are afraid to put their truest self forward. How do you have the strength to do that?
Tension, obviously, getting your heart broken, being disappointed, trials, tribulations, opposition. But primarily, once you accept the things about yourself, the shadows in the dark that other people don't like, once you know those things about yourself, there's nothing anybody can say to you that you don't already know. So if you don't like me, that's great, because I know who I am. And like, I might not be your favorite person, but you know what you get. So.
And I feel like there's a correlation of also with whiskeys there.
Oh yeah.
I might not like a rye. I don't like the sour mash Tennessee whip build. Like, everyone's not going to like everything.
We could talk for hours about
I know. I feel like now we're finally getting into the philosophical part.
I mean, down to the fact that like my bosses didn't like the way that I dressed or what I said or how I spoke. And then eventually they're like, we love Misty. And then they would list the same things that they hated about me 2 years before. And it's like, it's like sometimes you just got to be you and let somebody be a little uncomfortable in that until they realize that you're not faking it. This is who you are. And then they honor you with being more of who they are. And,
love it or hate it, this is what you're going to get all the time.
Yeah.
Do you feel like people are assuming that everyone's faking it, so you have to give people enough time to realize, hey, this is really me?
Yeah.
It goes back earlier why I said you can't be a fake person. And faking it till you make it. You know, I feel like we all deal with imposter syndrome until we realize we're supposed to be in the room.
And I mean, God, sorry, bleep. God damn it. I still struggle with a little bit of that. You know, I've gotten everything that I've ever dreamed of. And I didn't have to hurt anybody along the way or betray my own morals along the way. So it's like, you know, a part of me is just like, I'm so grateful, but what can I do to add more value?
Yeah.
You know, like,
Yes.
Oh, we're in that same boat. Which is why these are, to his point, like so beneficial for us. I did this thinking like, oh, I'm gonna, you know, one day have Misty on and promote her event and, you know, and help her out. And we walk away with so much more given to us than what we could provide by the people that we talk to here. But
well, I'm floating, y'all. I'm on cloud nine, not just from the buzz, but
it's good. It's good. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
I appreciate you taking the time out of your day, rearranging some things so you could be here. I appreciate that. The one, the only Misty Blu, Bourbon plus The Vault, coming December 12th on Friday. Go ahead and get your tickets now. Go to the Shopify on the website. Discount code Bourbon Family. We want to see you there. We can't wait for that event.
And we are promoting nonstop what I feel like good people, good-hearted people in the industry. And if you liked what you saw today, hit that like, share, and subscribe, please.
And for the love of Nashville, tune into the next one.